Hi, my name is Kiriana. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am a budding makeup enthusiast, and so I have decided to start recording makeup videos at the urging of some of my friends. So if you're one of them, hi. So welcome to my channel. Today is day one, so I guess let's get started. I am currently visiting my friend Kiana in Houston, Texas. And so I am a little limited on the products that I have because I didn't bring everything that I have at home. So when I get home, I can do a more extensive video and kind of show my collection, which is still small compared to other people's. But so I just wanted to give the heads up from the get-go that I had not really planned to do this when I came down to visit her. And so I'm kind of just working with what I've got, and I understand that a lot of times that's how it is for a lot of people. You're just kind of working with what you got, and so I will be using a variety of products from different price points, and so I'll explain each one. This video is going to be a bit of like a beginner's walkthrough, and so I'm going to try to go step by step and explain with some detail about exactly what you should be doing if you want to do makeup, and so that way that I can explain and fully get across like the different steps rather than like bigger beauty bloggers who kind of skip over some of the basics. So the first step to having great makeup is taking care of your skin. And I will be the first to admit that I am not always the best about taking care of my skin. And last night I went to bed with foundation on my face. I tried to take my eyeshadow off and my lipstick off, and that was kind of about it. That's really not good for your skin. I don't recommend doing it, but life happens. It is what it is. So try your best. When you do your makeup in the morning, always try to start with a clean face. So if you have makeup on, I recommend using some kind of makeup remover to take it off. When I'm traveling, I have this little Biore charcoal micellar water. At home, I tend to use Garnier Fructis micellar water. They have it in 3 different kinds, like normal, for sensitive skin, and for waterproof makeup. They're all really great. Mary Kay also has a product that will take off waterproof makeup as well as regular makeup, and that one's really gentle on the eyes, as is the Garnier Fructis one. So it's good for taking off eye makeup if you do a lot of eye makeup. The charcoal one, I will be the first to say, is not great for eye makeup. I don't know what it is, but it kind of burns my eyes if I accidentally get it in my eyes. So if you're gonna use a charcoal based one, I would recommend sticking to like your face and your lips to take it off, and avoid it around the eyes. So definitely recommend making sure all the makeup is off your face. I think I've got like a little bit of leftover mascara and eyeliner from last night, so I'm going to see if I can take that off. I've got my mirror over to the side, so you can just try to bear with me while I look over here. When you are taking your makeup off, it's important to be careful about how much you're like pushing and rubbing on your face, because that's how you get aging lines and all that stuff. For stuff around the eyes, I tend to stick with cotton balls or with Q-tips. And so you'll just put a little bit of like the micellar water on there, and then I guess I'll do it here. Try not to pull down on your face. I make this stupid face with when I open my mouth, but you know, whatever works. But so you can see already that I did get some black stuff off. So it is helpful to just start this way, and then that way you've got a completely blank canvas. Like I said, do be careful with the charcoal because you can feel it a little bit. On this side, it can feel like I got a little too close to my waterline. So just be careful. I recommend some of the other ones that I mentioned if you do a lot of eye makeup. To take off your full face. I've seen some people use washcloths. I don't know if that's recommended. I, at home, will either use, again, cotton balls that you can throw away for that, or you can use these like cloth sheets. I think they're just like cloth wipes made for using on your face. And so I've used those to apply toner or to take off excess lotion. If I use a little too much lotion, it's also good to use with micellar water to take off your foundation. They come in white. I think you can get them through Mary Kay. You can also get them on like Amazon and stuff. So I just got out of the shower, so I know my face is all clean. A good skincare routine is just anything that's not super abrasive. So just anything that's kind of like cleansing and made for the skin on your face, not made for the skin on the rest of your body. Skin on your face is real sensitive, so be careful of what you're using on your face. Generally, most of the time, you should use like a 3-step process. So like a face wash, a toning solution, or like witch hazel kind of thing, and then a lotion after that. Like I said, I'm a little limited on products, and so I washed my face, and now I'm gonna go straight to the lotion because I don't have any toner. But that can be a topic for another episode. So for my lotion today, I will be using the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hydrolonic Acid Tinted Moisturizer. And so it's a moisturizer that has color in it. My husband picked this up for me for my birthday, so thanks, hubby. I really like this stuff because I don't like doing foundation every day because it can just take a long time. Honestly, most days I do my eye makeup, like eyeliner and mascara and stuff, at the stoplights while I'm driving to work. I'll be real honest. There's a lot of mornings I just get up and I don't feel like doing it. I'd rather get another 10 minutes of sleep. So that means foundation is out most days too. So tinted moisturizer is awesome because you can do basically 2 steps in one. And it's a little hard to see with this camera, but I have a lot of redness in my skin. It's just the way my skin is. And so having something like a tinted moisturizer is really good for helping combat some of that redness while also making sure that my face is nice and moisturized for the rest of the day. Dry skin is, I'm pretty sure, like the #1 cause of fine lines and wrinkles and stuff. So moisturize your skin. It'll help in the long run, I promise. Normally with foundation, or I think even tinted moisturizer like this, you should really use a brush or a sponge or like a beauty blender if you've got them. Again, I'm limited on products, so I'm just going to use my fingers. It's not too big of a deal. Just make sure you don't tug on your skin too much. Make sure you have a napkin or paper towel nearby so that you can wipe the stuff off your hands. I recommend, if you're going to use your hands like this, go wash your hands afterwards. That way you're not getting it on other things. But generally, you want to keep your hands away from your face because the oil on your hands and the germs on your hands from the stuff you're touching all day don't need to be on your face. If you have oily skin, there's a good chance your hands are on your face all day. I know that because I'm one of them, so I can't lecture you too much. I do it too. Try to avoid touching your face unless you have clean hands. Make sure when you apply foundation that you're getting as close to your hairline as you can. There are few makeup things worse than when someone turns their head and you can see the line where their foundation ends. So just be aware of that. And then do the same thing with under your jawline. Some people go all the way down their neck with their makeup, but then it can look a different color from your chest depending on what you're wearing. So I don't really recommend doing that. Others may. I'm no expert. So if you just get it so that it's under your jawline and then just blend it a little bit to make sure that it's, again, not super harshly different from the color of your skin. In general, your foundation should match your skin tone anyway. In cases like me, where I have a lot of redness in the cheeks, it does match the skin tone here on the outer edges of my face. And that's what you want to look for. I've heard different rules about how you figure out your foundation type by, like, test the color on the back of your wrist, or on the inside of your wrist, or the back of your hand, or compare it to your neck color. And honestly, all of those are crap, and you shouldn't be doing those, because none of those is necessarily going to be the same color as your face, which is how I ended up with a bunch of foundation that doesn't really match my facial skin tone. And so if you can, try to go to like Ulta or Sephora, where they have samples that you can test, and then you can actually just put it on a little applicator. Kind of looks like a Q-tip, and then you can actually just like test it on your face, and then you can make sure if it is or is not going to work. And most of the time, their stations at Ulta and Sephora will have remover materials like micellar water and pads and stuff, so you can test multiple things, take it off, try again with something else if you need to. ColourPop you can order online. I'm going to be using a couple of ColourPop things. I have a lot of ColourPop at home. So they have everything available on their website. I think they're also available in Ulta. They used to be available in Sephora. I don't know. It's not every Ulta, so it just depends. But I love ColourPop. So if you haven't used it before, you should use that. Also, generally, if you're gonna do eye makeup, you should do your foundation last. If you have any fallout, which is like excess powder from the eyeshadows you're putting on your eyes, it often falls here on the tops of your cheekbones. And so generally, you should do your eyeshadow first, so that if you have any fallout, you can cover it up with your foundation later, or take it off with a cotton ball and micellar water, since you haven't put foundation on yet. Since this is tinted moisturizer, I just went ahead and did it. And because of that, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my skincare routine for today. And so I'm going to touch up some of these little blemishes on my skin by using ColourPop's No Filter Concealer. I honestly can't even tell you if they're still making this or not, because I bought this a couple of years ago. All makeup has an expiration date on it. Let me see if I can find something that has it. If it comes in a tube like this, it means it's probably on the box that the product actually came in. And so it's gonna look like this right here, and like a little jar, and it's gonna have a number on it. And then this one says 24M, and so that means 24 months. And so once you open the product, so not the day you purchase it or anything, but once you actually open the product, you have 24 months for that, in the case of the eyeshadow palette, to use it. A lot of stuff that goes directly on your face and is liquid based, like liquid foundation or liquid concealer, is often less, 6 months to a year. So keep an eye on that stuff. But I'm also not rich, so hence why I'm still using this 2 years later. So with this, you just want to make sure that you don't have too much product on your applicator. You'll end up with just a ton of stuff on your face, and you'll have to blend it out, and that's never fun. So I will just dab it real lightly, just enough so that I can see, you know, it's covered the spot. And I've got this one right here, but I think it'll be right. And then on this side, we've got this big guy. And again, just cover it up a little bit there. I have this awesome brush from Visanti, I'm gonna say, and it is a concealer buffer. This is one of my favorite brushes I've ever gotten, because I didn't know that was a thing. And so before I'd just been using like shadow blending brushes or small foundation brushes or whatever to blend out my concealer. And this makes it so much easier because you can apply a small amount of product and then just use this brush to kind of tap it out and blend it in with the color around it. The whole point of concealer is just to conceal. It's not to, when it comes to blemishes on your face, I should say. It's not to lighten the skin necessarily on blemishes, it's just to conceal it. And so you don't want it to be too light or too dark. You want it to match the foundation that you just put on, because otherwise you're not concealing anything, you're bringing more attention to the fact that you're trying to hide something. So, once you've buffed your concealer out, it should be pretty okay. I will also use concealer under my eye, but I'm going to do that after I apply my eyeshadow. That way there's no, I don't have to do it again when I have fallout, because I apply my eyeshadow heavily, and so I always have fallout. Before you apply foundation or eyeshadow, I recommend using a primer. So there are like face primers and then there are eye primers. It prepares your eye to have product applied to it while also helping the product stay easier and blend easier. Because I use a tinted moisturizer today in place of an actual foundation, I didn't use a primer, because you should moisturize, then prime, then apply foundation. You can get face and eye primers at different price levels. It just depends. I always recommend looking into reviews online to see what works for people and what doesn't, and why it doesn't, because there's a variety of products out there. Not everything is great, but a lot of things don't work for some people because they have really oily skin, they have really dry skin, they have really oily lids, or they have normal lids. So if you're going to look into stuff like, or start using stuff like that, make sure you look into those before you make a purchase, so you can make sure you're purchasing the correct thing for your skin. Today I am going to be using the NYX Proof It waterproof eyeshadow primer. At home, I normally use the Urban Decay Eye Potion. I didn't bring it with me, so this is what I got. It comes in a tube with a little doe foot applicator, which is not what I'm used to. Usually it's in a tube and you like squeeze it on your hand and then put it on your face. But I kind of don't mind this because it makes it a little easier to apply without having to get my hands too involved in it, because I really try not to touch my eyes if I can help it. So apply a little bit of product. You don't want it like super heavy, again, like the concealer. This is just a base, and so it's not supposed to it's not supposed to like be pouring off your face or anything. It just needs to be like a light layer of moisturizer basically that goes around your eye. I do my upper eyelid as well as my lower eyelid because this can also hold your concealer in place better, and if you do smudging under your waterline, it'll hold that better in place as well. So I am just applying the product across my eyelid and then using my finger here to very lightly kind of push it out. So there you can see, like, it's not a lot of product. Using my finger to push it all the way out across my eye area. I go all the way up to my brow line because if I want to apply foundation to the area where my eyeshadow won't be, the eye primer will also help your foundation stay. generally, um, products that are made for eyes will very clearly say made for eyes, and products that are made for the rest of your skin will say do not use around eyes. So this is true of facial moisturizer and most facial cleansers, and it's because they just contain ingredients that can irritate your eyes. So it doesn't mean it's bad for you, it just means it can make your eyes, a little angry, a little red and watery. So try to stick to using only eye approved products in your eye area. So now that the primer is on, we are going to take a look at whatever color palette you got to decide what kind of a makeup look you want to do. I have a variety of color palettes. I've got everything from literally Wet n Wilds that I picked up at Walmart to the Balm and some Urban Decay shadows. I don't have a full palette. Everything just depends on your budget. You don't have to have the $55 Urban Decay palette in order to have a beautiful makeup look. You just need to find out what products actually work and then buy them the way you like them. So at home, I use a lot of ColourPop shadows. I was a big fan of the Super Shock shadows, which come in like a little container like this, and so they're individual colors. They came out with actual palettes a couple of years ago after I started buying ColourPop, and I really like those shadows as well. Those are pressed shadows, I believe, and so I really like those. I use a lot of Mary Kay shadows at home too. They're really similar, also really easily blendable. When I first started doing makeup, I bought a lot of NYX palettes and shadows because I really liked them as well, and they're super affordable. Things like NYX you can get at Ulta. Most Ultas have a really big NYX section. You can also pick up NYX at most like Walgreens and CVS's too. They might not have quite the selection that Ulta may, but if you are in a bind like me and you just need to go pick up some cheap $10, $15 eyeshadow palette while you're on vacation, something like NYX is great. So this is the Mystic Petals palette. I had not seen this before. It's been a while since I bought anything NYX, honestly, but I really love these colors, and this is the Midnight Orchid version of this palette. There were a couple ones. I am really drawn to like the reds, and so this one has like a lot of pinks and then some more purples. I was trying to do something a little different than what I normally get. I read something recently about how you're not supposed to use red eyeshadow, and while I kind of understand, I also just don't really care because I really like what I can do with red eyeshadow, and those of you who have been my friend on Facebook for a few years now know that I do a lot of reds and dark pinks, just because that's just the kind of look I like. And I've done like blues before, and honestly, because my skin is so red, the reds just kind of go better with it. Reds, browns, pinks, and now some purples. So the way that I start doing my eye makeup is that I apply my base color first. And so that is kind of the color that I want to start everything. And so I generally start with the middle here, like right all over my eyelid, to just have a starting point. Again, I will not claim that this is the correct way to do it. I will not say that everybody else is wrong for the way that they do it. This is my preference, and you may have your own preference, and someone else may actually have real reasons for why they say, no, this is the way you actually do it. Maybe in later videos I'll expand on that. But this is the way I do it. So I generally pick to go on my lid a really toned down neutral color. Generally, I do really vibrant, bright colors in my crease and above my crease, and so I do a little more neutral colors here because then I can put a shimmer on it without making it compete too much with the color in my crease. So in this case, I am going to use the, it doesn't have a name, this like peachy color. It's really close to my natural skin tone. So I'm just gonna apply that. In addition to not having most of my products, I also don't have most of my brushes. So I literally just snagged this while I was at the store yesterday buying this palette. And it's just, I think it's a lip applicator actually for testing lip products. But you gotta work with what you got. So when I record my next video from home, I will actually be able to use the full array of eyeshadow brushes that I have because I've got too many. But that is actually a really important part of doing makeup because you need to make sure that you have plenty of brushes for your purposes. You generally really want to avoid reusing brushes because of the germs on your face when you like use them the first time, because like right now, like even though my face is clean, there's still germs that are hopping from my eyelid onto this thing. So generally, anytime you're doing a makeup look, you should use a new brush, and you should use different brushes across different colors, because if you use one color, let's say you do a purple, you're doing purple in your crease, and then you use the same brush to pick up the like this kind of really light pink, you're still gonna get some purple in that brush. And so that's easiest to just use a new brush. That'll be your best bet. There's also different kinds of brushes that do different things. So generally, flat brushes, flat stiff brushes, are used to pack color down onto your eye, which is why like this lip applicator works really well because I can just pat it down. When you get to doing color in your crease, in which case you will need to blend it out so that it's not just color, not color. You'll want to use a blending brush. So they look like this. They're real fuzzy and flexible. I know this one that has already been used. Sorry. So you use that to apply the color to your crease. I'm just gonna dab it here real lightly. You don't want to pick up too much product. That's how you end up with fallout on your cheekbones here. So then I always start from the outer corner and just kind of tap it on a little bit. That way you're not getting it all what you picked up all in one place. And then you can start doing these short, like circular, there we go, like this kind of motion as you go across your eye. You can also do the, I think I've heard this called the windshield wiper movement. But if you do that too much, it really pushes the product away from the crease. And if you have a really small face like I do, it can start pushing it up too close to your brow line. And then that's when you can kind of get that like clown-like look. I really don't mind that look, but I know a lot of people don't like it. And it can look kind of funny depending on what eyeshadow you're using. So just trial and error. Trial and error is the biggest thing. And then I think the last rule with eyeshadow brushes is just make sure you're not holding them like way up here. I know we tend to hold pencils and pens like this because you're writing really close to that. That's not how you hold makeup brushes. So you want to hold it somewhere between halfway through to like maybe 3/4, 2/3 on the end, because if you hold it too close, you're really pushing down in, because that's what you do with pens. And with this, since it's blending, you want to have the free movement to be able to kind of swirl the color around and not pack it into place. That's what those flat brushes are for. So there's, I've got the tan down here, and then I use that light pink up here in the crease. I'm gonna do my second eye real quick, so bear with me here. You can try to make your eyeshadow match as closely as possible. You may have heard the phrase about brows, that your brows are sisters, not twins. Same kind of goes for your eyes. And especially with eyeshadow, it's way easier to get by with not having it match perfectly, because few people are actually staring, going back and forth between your eyes. Go like, hey, there's a little more pink here than on here on this side. Like, it's generally not quite as big of a deal. So try to get close, but if you're new to makeup, don't worry about it too much. It'll be okay. You'll learn it as you go. And it can be really difficult to go from, I'm right-handed, so I do my right side first, and then coming over here, you have to, do some weird stuff with your arms, because otherwise you're crossing in front of this eye, and so I would also recommend figuring out which of your eyes is dominant. My left eye used to be my dominant eye, so it used to be really hard for me to do this because I have to close my eye. This side, I have gotten used to having this eye open while I do my eyeshadow, and then turning my head and using this eye to watch this eye. If you have a hard time keeping them even, or if you just want to make sure, you can always just stop and look at yourself face on and then see, where do they not line up. In this light, it's a little hard because this side of my face is really dark and this side of my face is really light. Good lighting is important too. I have limited resources, so just get as close as you can. Make sure you blend your crease color down over just the top of your lids, so that there's not like a really stark line in between the two colors, unless you're doing a cut crease. And that's those makeup looks where there is like a very defined line between the color on your lid and then the color in your crease. I have never attempted a cut crease because I honestly like blending the colors together. I may attempt a cut crease one day. We'll see what happens. But this is not a cut crease, so definitely make sure you're blending well. So next, I am going to, if you have to use the same brush multiple times, try to wipe it off on a paper towel. That's what I'm doing over here. Try to get some of that product out until you're seeing like there's nothing else coming out. That way at least you don't have to worry about crossing your colors. So when I do my makeup, I'll try to do a lighter color on the outside, and then I'll try to do a darker color right along my crease, just for a little bit of contrast. And so I'm going to use this kind of purpley lavender, blue lavender, I don't know, this right here. And for this, you're going to use less product. So actually, I think I kind of picked up too much. It's always good to keep paper towels nearby because then you can dab some of it off. So, let me get my mirror again. So this, you want to do much shorter movements because you want this to stay closer to your crease. You still want to maintain the like pink out there, and you just want this to be a little bit of a definer right in the crease of your eye. Your eye shape can really determine exactly what kind of eye makeup you do. I have really hooded, heavily lidded eyes. So when I open my eyes, you can't see a whole lot of my lid, but I do have a very defined change in between where my eyelid is and then where the skin above it is. And so there's different techniques to tackle different eye types. But you want to use a light amount of product because you can always build it up later. It's always, always, always better to use too little product and have to put more on than to use way too much and ruin your makeup look and either do weird things to make it work or just have to take it off and start over. That's never fun. I've had to do that before, and you get halfway through like the second look and you're just like, okay, I just wish I had not done this at all. Avoid doing the windshield wiper movement when you are doing just a color in the crease, because again, doing the windshield wiper movement pushes it out, and so it'll come too far out and probably end up covering up whatever color you've got on the skin above your crease. So there's that. It kind of looks like a bruised eye on camera. It doesn't in person, so sorry, just bear with me. Try to do the same thing on your other eye. Short little taps, and then the small swirly movement, circular movement to blend it in your eye. You want to put the majority of your eyeshadow towards the outer part of your eye, and try to stay less on the inside of your eye, or else it really, especially in this case, it really will look like you got punched in the eye. Follow the shape of your eye. You don't have to build up all the way to your brows. You want to make it follow the same shape your eye is already in. And again, since this color is directly in your crease, try your best to blend it down just a little bit into the color that is covering your lid, so that way you don't have a sharp difference in the color unless you are doing a cut crease. I also will tap a little bit into the corners, the outer corners of my eye, to really round out the definition of where my eye starts and stops. So that's what I've got right now. I am now going to apply just a little bit of a glitter here in the middle. Generally, you want to avoid glittered shadows in your crease because if you have really defined eyelids like I do, or if you have really wrinkly eyelids with age, it will bring out those lines. It's really easy to see those lines and it can really age your eyes. If you don't mind that look, then it's fine, you do you. But for me, I am not a fan. It super ages my eyes, and it's not a good look on me, but it might work on you. Kiana's over there all passed out. So for this, I am going to use this really light lavender. It's almost silvery, a little pinky. It's got a good like shimmer to it, so it almost changes colors as you go. And so I'm going to use a, okay, this is actually a smudger brush, and I'll explain what that does in a second, but you want to use another shading brush, another one of those flat, stiff, bristled brushes that picks up product and packs it on. This is close enough for my use. So you're just going to very short downward pushes because you really want to pack the product in one place with this. This is not a blending brush. You don't need to worry about blending it. You need to pick up product in one place. And then you just tap it lightly and then eventually start pushing a little harder to get it to stick to where you want it to be. I generally focus my glitters right in the center of that eyelid and not across the entire eyelid. Again, to maintain that definition of where my eye starts and stops. And then you'll do the same thing on the other side. This is often where you get a lot of the fallout because you're putting so much product on your brush and then trying to push it down. Some of it comes loose and then comes down here. I don't think you can really see it on camera, but I know yesterday the makeup look I did, you could see that I had some pink down here, some pink and purple. All right, let me get my mirror over here so I can see if I can make them match a little better. And when you're choosing colors, you can make your eyeshadow match your outfit. You can just do whatever you want. That's what I usually do. I don't generally match it to my outfit. I just do what I feel like doing. And then make sure the colors you're using are complementary. Don't do your eyelid the same color as your crease because then it's just a big blob of color. I generally do darker or vibrant colors in the crease, and then I do really light glitters right in the middle of my lid. And again, providing that definition. So, I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. So, a little darker here on the outside and across the top, and then pretty light and glittery in the middle. So what a smudging brush is actually used for is to put color on your lower eyelid, which is why I applied primer to it. It kind of takes the place of eyeliner because eyeliner can be a little clunky and a little too dark sometimes. And so I generally will pick up whatever my darkest color was up here, plus maybe a brown or black. So in this case, because I'm limited, I am going to use this purplish pink, kind of magenta, purplish magenta, because I feel like it's a good combination of this color and this color that I used in my crease. And so I'm going to dab the end, because it's kind of flat. Dab the end, well, swipe it, I guess. Swipe the end twice across that, and then I'm going to dab once on this black. And then that way you're picking up a little bit of the black without it being like way too much black. And then you swipe it across your lower lid. I start from the outside and work in so that the heaviest color is on the outside, closest to where the heaviest color is on the top lid. And then just slowly make your way to the inner corner. You don't have to go all the way to the inner corner. Some people do, I usually don't. So just be really light and swipe it across and then start blending it out just a little bit. You don't want to do too much or you really will look like you got punched in the eye, but just a good little line there at the bottom so that the color doesn't just abruptly end halfway down your eye. You got a little bit of color down here too. Let me do the second eye here. Again, start at the outer corner, swipe underneath, and then bring it to the inside, and smudge it back as you go out. You can stop frequently to compare and make sure that they match on both sides. Let me look into more. There we go. This one has a little more purple, so I'm going to add some more purple on this side. And then just check and make sure they match. They match now, so I am good to go. So then next, I am going to put the concealer on my lower eyelid since I'm done smudging now and I'm done applying shadow. So again, I'm using the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. Make sure you don't have too much product on the applicator. So since you can't see what I'm doing, I'm just wiping it off a little bit. Just making sure like it's not bubbling up on the applicator. And I've seen concealer applied multiple ways, but I think my favorite way is I do these little dots or dashes. So you don't want to like cover the whole eye necessarily. I do little dots and then use the concealer buffing brush to very lightly bring those dots together and push the product down towards your cheekbone. If you have dark circles under your eyes, you can use it there to kind of eliminate some of the circles. There's only so much that you can do, so don't use too much product because it's just not going to work. I know that I have really heavy lines right here, and it is what it is. So again on this side. Try not to go up into your eyeshadow. If you do, you can always put more on. Just be careful not to produce any fallout, or else you're going to have to touch up your concealer again. So there we go. Next, I'm going to apply my liquid eyeliner. At home, I normally use Stila's Stay All Day liquid liner. I really like the black. I also have it in blue, and I was not a big fan of the formula of the blue. It dried out really fast, and I have not had that kind of a problem with the black in the past. Because I was traveling, I brought this Cella eyeliner pen. I think I got it in a beauty box a while back. I'm not really sure. And it says this is brown. It actually kind of looks more gray when you put it on, but whatever. Generally, I stick to black because I really like a really dramatic black eyeliner look. Sorry, taking some shadow off my eyelashes. And I do two different ways of applying my eyeliner. It's literally one way on one eye and one way on the other eye. So I will show you both. On my left eye, I always start with the wing. I don't know why, but I do. Okay. So I start on the outside and draw in. Again, the left eye can be hard if you are right-handed because you gotta make sure that you are angled correctly so that you can see what you're doing while also not impairing your ability to draw straight lines. I will warn you right now that using liquid eyeliner is one of the most difficult parts of doing makeup. It takes so much time and practice in order to make sure that your wings match on both sides. A lot of people opt not to do it at all, not to draw wings, because it's really difficult. I think it took me like 2 or 2.5 years to really figure it out. And there are multiple kinds of liquid eyeliner. I prefer the pens with the like calligraphy style brush end because it makes it easier for me to control. They come in a pot with like a little wand, Some people like that. Some people prefer just using an angled eye brush and then drawing it themselves. So there are multiple kinds of eyeliner. Try out a few different methods if you can. Some cheaper companies like Wet n Wild have multiple options, so you can, for less than $10, like try 2 or 3, and just find out whatever's going to work for you, whatever works for your style is easiest for you to use. Make sure you get something that is easy for you to use, because all it takes is messing up your eyeliner to completely ruin your entire look. So on my right eye, I always start from the inside of my eye and then draw out with shorter strokes instead of one single long stroke like I did on my left eye. And then I start at the outer corner and drag out. And then come back in. If your wings don't match exactly, it's not the end of the world. You can try to make them match as closely as possible, but that's how you end up with giant wings and too much eyeliner on your face. So don't worry about it too much, especially if you're just starting out, because there's just a lot to it. I generally have 2 different angles. I don't mean to, but it happens. It's really not a big deal. It's really not. So once you are done with that, where did the cap go? There it is. Then I'm actually going to apply my brow gel. So I use a clear brow gel to set my eyebrow hairs in place because they grow crazy. I have really crazy long, they're like as long as my eyelashes, and I have really naturally long eyelashes. And so they just grow all over the place. And so I actually use brow gel first to hold them down in place where I want them to be, and then I give it time to dry, and then after it's dry, then I will fill them in. So how exactly you style your brows is up to you. There's a few different ways to do it. You can do them real skinny, you can do them real big. I have naturally really big brows, and so I like doing a really dramatic curve about here. You'll see it when I get to it. Just very lightly use the gel to paste them down in place. Drag queens use stick glue over their eyebrows so that they can apply foundation over it and then just draw their eyebrows on, which honestly sometimes would be better because eyebrows never want to cooperate. I really enjoy the Benefit 24-hour brow setter gel. Oh, you can't read that at all. Whatever. And I get it in clear. I don't like ones that have color in them if I'm going to be filling in my eyebrows with powder. So that's on. You can kind of feel it. It'll be a little bit cold, so just wait for it to dry. While it's drying, I am going to apply my mascara. I recently got a sample of Fenty Beauty mascara from Influencer. It's a website that basically like they beta test new products and existing products with actual regular day beauty people. I have done quite a few over the last 5 years, so that you can actually, I guess it's only been 4 years, whatever. So that they can get honest and real feedback from regular people, not necessarily just well-known beauty bloggers who may feel obligated to give a good word so that they can keep up their business and continue being an influencer. So I am real picky about my mascara. I like it a particular way. formula has to be a certain way, the wand has to be a certain way. I also generally prefer black. Because I have naturally black long eyelashes, colored mascara never translates correctly to my lashes. It just looks like there's too much eyeshadow that got stuck to my eyelashes. Applying mascara can be problematic because you want it to curve, but if you curve it too much, you start getting mascara on your eyeshadow, and then you have to fix your eyeshadow, and then the eyeshadow gets stuck to your semi-dry mascara, and then you got color on your mascara, so then you try to cover it up with more, and then you get more mascara on your eyeshadow, and it just goes and goes and goes in circles. And it's not fun. Number one rule of mascara is make sure you don't have too much product on your eye. On your wand. Too much product on your wand, because that is what leads to clumpy, goopy, spider leg mascara look, which some people like. I do not. So with a really gentle hand, just apply it real softly. Don't be too hard. That's how you usually end up with mascara on your eyelid in your eyeshadow. And then make sure you know the details of how to use the applicator on the wand. So Fenty, it's flat on one side and then real skinny. And so you're supposed to use the flat side to apply the product, and then you're supposed to use the skinny side to lengthen it. So that's what I am doing here. I use the flat side to apply it, and now I'm going to use the skinny side to build it out. Some people will put like a credit card across their eye or something to act as a guard from the mascara. You can do that. Generally, I just tilt my head back and then keep my mirror below my face, and then that angle is enough to drop my eyelid, and then I don't really have to worry about it. You make a lot of dumb faces while you're doing makeup, so if you have judgy people around, just make sure you're in a room alone or whatever. So there is one coat of Fenty. Some mascaras are really buildable, and so you can do multiple coats if you want. It's up to you. Because my eyelashes are naturally long, I don't need to. But if you have shorter lashes, you might want to. Be really delicate with your lower lashes. It's real easy to put way too much product on and then they get super goopy, or you get a lot of product on your lower lid and then you have to try to fix it with concealer again. And so for my lower lashes, I use the flat side of the brush because it's just a little smaller to work with. So that is that eye. And then I will go ahead and do the left eye. I guess if you wanted to, you could also always do left eye, right eye. As you've seen in this video, I've switched back and forth a few different times. And so it's not, I don't think it's a big deal. It might be a big deal. I'm not really sure. But honestly, a lot of the rules about makeup are all aesthetic based. And so those are all they're just kind of worthless. You can really do whatever you want or whatever works for you. It just depends on what works for you. Some of the more practical rules, like making sure you're holding a blending brush correctly or making sure you're being light-handed with certain products, that's more of a functional aspect. And so those ones, it's better to stick that way. But if you're a beginner, you're going to make mistakes, and so you'll quickly realize why those functional rules exist, and so you'll learn to follow them yourself. So it all just depends on your preference for the most part. I generally stay away from fake lashes. I don't like the way they feel on my eye. They really irritate my natural eyelashes. And because I have naturally long eyelashes, uh, just one coat of mascara can do the trick for me. Um, so if you have questions about fake eyelashes, don't ask me because I can't answer your questions. Um, I also have not tried the magnetic ones. That one, they might not be so bad. I'm just real wary about them. I don't necessarily have a reason to be wary, but I am anyway. It's just, I don't know. I feel like you probably shouldn't have magnets that close to your eyes. I had optic neuritis in my last semester of college. Uh, so I had to deal with that while I was trying to find a job and a place to live and, uh, finish up my classes so I could actually graduate. So it was not fun. And so I'm just real paranoid about what goes close to my eyes. The doctors were never able to tell me what exactly caused my optic neuritis. And because of that, we don't know. And so I don't know what exactly made it happen. And so I'd rather just be a little more careful with what I'm putting on my face, um, to make sure it doesn't happen again. I was 22 years old when it started, and it was pretty scary. It's really, for those of you that weren't friends with me, who didn't know me back then. Um, Basically, one day, um, in the center of my eye, I started getting this weird light dot, and every time I blinked, it would like flash, and then it started spreading, and then I basically, by the end of like week 2, this whole eye was just filled with static, and so I couldn't see anything. I couldn't drive. Um, I had a hard time reading stuff on the board at school or on the projector at school. Um, I started to wear an eye patch because it was easier to handle the static, um, when there was no light against it. And so basically, optic neuritis is an inflammation of the optic nerve in your eye, which is right inside the pupil of your eye. It's what helps you see. And so, for whatever reason, it got inflamed and it was swollen. And so that's why I was having problem seeing. Um, it was like that for part of February and most of March in 2015, and and had a lot of CAT scans done, and basically they were just like, nothing's wrong with you. Either it'll go away or it won't, and it did. So by the time I graduated that May, it was mostly fine. 5 years later, I have like 90% of my vision back, and so there's just a little bit of static if I stare at things like a solid colored wall or like the sky while I'm driving. But this eye's fine, so it's not a big deal. Lastly, I am going to do my eyebrows. So I use powder and an angled eye brush. You can use this to apply eyeliner. I use it to do my eyebrows. This is the Inspur Duo Brow Powder in dark brown. I have had this for so long. It says it's only good for 2 years, but I mean, it's almost empty. I have used this for so long, and I absolutely love this powder. This is the first powder that I used, and it has been really good to me. I have no complaints about it. So, this is a little more like drawing. So, you just dip it in the product, make sure you don't get too much, and then just draw. It's really good if you have your eyebrows in the general shape that you're going for. Try not to overdraw your eyebrows too much with powder because you can really see um, the difference. I have thought about trying some of those, like the little pen ones where you have like the flick that you can draw. I haven't tried one yet, so I can't say anything about that. My natural eyebrows are really thick, and there's just a little bit of space in between them in some points. So I have considered having microblading done to just fill in some of those points, um, just need that little extra work. So when you do your eyebrows, I recommend not being up close to a mirror. That's why I'm using the camera lens for this, because it's real easy to mismatch them when you're using a closer mirror. So for this part, see, I've already messed up that one. For this part, I actually usually go into my bathroom and do it in my bathroom mirror. I recommend keeping Q-tips on hand, because then you can just take off the product. So let me try that again. My eyebrows naturally do not match, so I try to make them a little closer to matching, but they're sisters, not twins. I think mine are cousins, so, you know, it's whatever. My husband has insulted women in the past, to me privately, not to their faces, by saying their eyebrows didn't match. And he jokingly told me once that he was going to tell me that my wings didn't match, and I almost punched him for that one. So if you know a makeup person, that's the way to hurt them. Tell them their eyebrows or their wings don't match. It's it's not fun. It's the last thing you want to hear when you've spent an hour doing your makeup. Okay. So there we go. This one arches a little bit more than this one. I really don't care. It's alright. It's fine. So lastly, I am going to use liquid lipstick on my lips. I basically only use liquid lipstick. I don't like lip gloss. I like it matte and transfer proof because I put my hands on my face way too much during the day. And I don't like tube lipstick because it'll be matte, but it won't be transfer proof. That was how I actually found out about ColourPop. I was using their matte liquid lipstick. I don't remember what it's called, but that's how I got started in it. And now I have 7,000 tubes of lipstick in my house. So today I'm going to be using Lip Sluts Notorious RBG. I have quite a few of these. I love Lip Sluts colors. I love their cause. If you don't know about them, Google it, lipslut.com. I have this one. I have F. Kavanaugh. I have F. Trump. And then I think I have F. Hollywood also. So I've got quite a few of them. They wear really well. The only time they come off when I'm using them is if I'm eating. But the ColourPop ones are really affordable. NYX has some that are really affordable. They are becoming more popular as time goes by, which I am loving. And there are quite a few indie brands that have their own as well. Like Lip Slut is an indie brand. And so as time goes by, I will use more of a variety so that I can shout out all the companies that I have tried, and I can say what I do or don't like about them. I know in the past, ColourPop's matte liquid lipstick, that's what it's called, tended to be a little drying, and so it would actually kind of hurt your mouth after a little bit, and you'd want to put like lip balm or a lip gloss on top of it to help alleviate it. They updated the formula a couple of years ago, and it's more comfortable to wear, but it also wasn't transfer proof anymore. And so I had a hard time reconciling with that because it was more comfortable, but it also didn't do what I needed it to do. Most liquid lipstick is going to have a doe foot applicator like this. I try to use only one coat on my lips. Sometimes if it's sheer enough, you have to use multiple. Fortunately, with Lip Sluts, I do not. You don't necessarily need to line all the way to the inner corners of your mouth. That's how you end up with like these weird bulgy things, and then you end up having to overline, and then you kind of look a little silly, especially if you're just starting out and not wearing a lot of makeup, so people are used to seeing your natural lips. So you just want to follow your lip lines. My lips are not symmetrical. So you can see where this side, like there's a little less product. Sometimes I'll compensate for it. Sometimes I just won't because it's just a pain in the ass. So why bother? So that is my completed look for the day. In a future video, I will do some contouring and highlighting and blush and stuff like that. But since I don't have any with me right now, and I don't necessarily need it since I just use tinted moisturizer, it's not a big deal. And then you always want to finish off with finishing spray, setting spray. I bought this at the store yesterday because it was cheap and small. So this is just NYX matte finish setting spray. I prefer matte because I don't like my face to be super, I mean, you can already see like right here that my face is just always a little bright. So I don't need any help being dewy. At home, I use Urban Decay setting spray. There are a lot of good ones on the cheap end and the expensive end. So again, just look into it, see what's going to work. Generally, you want to do like 3 pumps, I think, depending on how good the spray is. Of 6, I just try to cover my whole face. So it'll be wet for a second, it will be cold, so you just kind of have to get used to that. Wait for it to dry. And then that's it. So, thanks for watching my first video. I hope it was informational. Hopefully I'll also get better at this in the future. I did the same makeup look last night and it took me about 15 minutes. This of course took me more than an hour because of all the talking I was doing, trying to work everything through. So if you have any questions that I didn't answer, please let me know. If you have things you'd like me to cover in the future, please leave comments about those too. And then hopefully I will get my next video out before too long. So thanks for watching and have a great day. I just realized that I forgot to do the whole like make faces while you admire my makeup thing, so I'm gonna do that real quick right now. Hopefully it gives you a good laugh because I really don't like doing this. So okay, so here's my makeup look. I'm also gonna include some photos at the end so you can see a little better what my face looks like. Bye!